Welcome back to episode 22, and we have a sniffling Natasha. She's genuinely sick, which is kind of sad. We had to kind of change up our shoot location again, which is totally fine. But we're actually shooting in Natasha's house. She's traveling tomorrow to Bangalore for a fun shoot, and with that, we're just trying to get this done so that we edit everything on
Yeah.
time. And Natasha's really dying, so we're gonna do a really quick
I
episode.
wanna say sorry to the viewers for my ugly face today.
Yeah, she's not very happy with it. So in the comments, just make sure you're telling her she looks beautiful, she looks great, and you only wish that you looked this good when you were dying of a sickness. But other than that, yeah, if Natasha has COVID, we'll let you know.
I don't have COVID.
We'll figure it out as it went. Okay, so we're not going to spend too much time on dilly-dallying today because we do have a little bit of like a health dilemma, and Natasha has to get up early tomorrow and she needs to sleep. For that, she has to pack, and there are lots of things in the middle that she has to do. So this episode, quick one that we're going to do, is going to be focused on podcasters talking about podcasts, and specifically we're going to talk about the podcasts that we love,
Yeah.
or at least listen to, or at least bear to listen to, or when we are in traffic and don't want to kill someone on the road, we listen to those.
Yeah.
So those are really the podcasts that we're going to focus on. Natasha, do you want to begin?
Yeah, but I have a question.
Yes.
How did you get into listening to podcasts?
Oh, so my intro to podcasts was, I don't know why, but I feel like all my personal growth has happened in this time period, which is in college. I started listening to podcasts primarily in college. The first thing that I got into was basically news podcasts, because I really hated reading about the news, and I needed to find a way to kind of like put that time of like walking, even just walking from my dorm to my classes, into better use. So NPR, they launched this podcast the same time that I started listening to it, called Up First, which is essentially like a 15-minute podcast.
Yeah.
And it was exactly the amount of time it took me to come from my dorm to my to the lunch club, to the like the cafeteria to
right.
eat breakfast or whatever. And it was great because it told me the entire news of the day, and I was like,
For where?
America. So
Boo.
I lived in America. So
What about India?
India? It was enough. There was enough happening that you
Unforgivable.
can consume. But it kind of like made me like very effortlessly conversant every
Yeah,
day, and
yeah.
that was really
That's
helpful.
cool.
So that was my first podcast, and then after that I started getting into others. And actually the time where I consumed the most podcasts is when I was working at my first job in
Yeah.
Delhi, because I had an hour and a half long commute, which meant taking an auto from my house to the metro station, or my car till the metro station, then taking the train, then switching trains, then walking to my office.
Which metro station did you get onto?
I used to get on to Guru Dronacharya, and then from
That's a
there,
long journey just
yeah,
till there.
it's about 30 minutes just there till there.
No.
Yeah. And then prior to that, I used to go with my mom when she used to work in Okhla, and I used to
Yeah.
work in Rajpath. But then she stopped working there,
Yeah.
and so I did it on my own, and that was the best way to really commute. It was the
Yeah.
best time, honestly. I read so many things, and I listened to so many things, primarily because like it's such a packed space. I was really conscious of like not staring at anyone. That's like just etiquette. I don't know. I felt like if I did, someone would come and hit me.
Yeah.
And I have a thing where like if I go into deep thought, I can just like stare. And I
Yeah.
can stare for ages. And like I've actually been like snarled at because I was like staring at someone, like fuck, I didn't even
How
realize. that
dare
was-
you stare at somebody and not me?
You weren't in my life. Maybe you were ignoring me.
Wow.
Maybe it was.
I'll tell you how I got into podcasts.
Sure. Nobody asked.
asked.
Yeah.
I actually started like producing ish podcasts before I started listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
So like at my first company we were making podcasts, and then after you and I met,
Yeah.
and you were really like podcast this, podcast that,
Yeah.
podcast.
You were not into podcasts when we met.
And I was like, but who's gonna listen to my music?
Yeah.
And for me, like music though I listen to it all the time, it's like therapeutic for me. So when I'm driving, I need to
Yeah.
be calm,
Yeah.
which is why I listen to music.
Yeah.
Not like it makes me too calm,
No.
but like it definitely brings me down a little bit.
Uh,
So if I'm not listening to music, I'm just at a different
Yeah.
level of a road rage.
when we started dating, there were two things that Natasha was like immensely opposed to. The first
Yeah.
was podcasting, because she's like, I can't listen
Not
for that long.
podcasting, just podcasts.
Yeah, whatever, podcast. That's what I
Yeah.
meant. Yeah, podcast. And then the second thing that Natasha was vehemently against was The Office.
I know.
Now, Natasha is one of the biggest fans of not only The Office, but the podcast about The Office.
Office ladies.
Office Ladies. So, I mean, she even has the book. I bought it for her, but she still has the
It's
book.
so heavy though. It's like, should I sleep or should I weight lift?
Yeah. So
6 hours before my
so
workout.
clearly, like some real like human development has happened here.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll spend an
I
episode.
actually did get into listening to podcasts because I started watching The Office during COVID.
Yeah.
And then I started listening to Office Ladies because you used to listen to it and I used to get FOMO and I was like, here's one more thing I can talk to them about.
Yeah.
And that's actually
Because we
how
just
it
had nothing to talk about. We were so just
I
like
wanted to be supportive of your likes
incompatible and
and dislikes.
yeah.
Talking about incompatibility, Archit and I are Archit and I are working with an interior designer to do up our studio in our new house.
And we're so compatible.
And she sent us this like survey, and I filled it before Archit, and when I was going through, I was like, oh my god, what if our like responses don't match? We're so incompatible. So then I forced him to like answer one question of the survey, and it was completely different from my answer. And then I was like, oh no, I don't know what to do now. It was like a test of our compatibility.
Sure. So was the love languages, which you got exactly 100%.
Yeah, I don't know if that makes us compatible or if it just makes us the same person.
It makes us the fact that we both like the same things and therefore are know how to like take care of the other.
Fair.
Right? Okay, so podcasts. Let's do just like a quick roundup. Top 5 podcasts that you like to listen to, have listened to, currently listen to, all of that jazz.
It's hard. I mean, the first is obviously the reason I got into this podcast. You Can Sit With Us.
Yeah.
It's it basically started off. I should explain it.
Just
right?
a little bit, yeah.
It basically started off through the Try Guys and their partners. So the 4 guys as partners decided to do a podcast. But actually, it wasn't all 4 partners. Eugene's boyfriend Matt wasn't in it initially. He only started coming much later. But they would literally just like, the 3 of them would sit along with their producer Rachel and just talk about anything.
Yeah.
And it just felt like a conversation that you were having with like your friends, or like your friends are talking to you just about it. And like that's what I really liked about that like setup, and that's why I kind of wanted to do this podcast as well, where it was just like the 2 of us just talking and people listening feel like they're a part of this relationship. So that's one. Then I used to listen to this podcast called Even the Rich.
Yeah, Even the Rich was good.
Yeah,
we both listened.
I got you onto it as
Yeah.
well, though I never finished the whole thing. But what they used to do was these 2 women who would deep dive into like celebrities and theories and stuff like that, and like, or like just talk about an incident that happened to them that kind of changed everything for them and things like that. So like it usually used to be like 4 or 5 episodes per subject, and they would there was something about the way they spoke to each other which really like had me interested, because they were just so like snappy and like fun. So that I really liked.
And it was very like scripted show.
It was really, and like a lot of research had gone in, like scripted in the sense that like, yes, they researched it a shit ton, but they were also genuinely interested in the subject. So like it was natural, but Then you go, then I'll think.
Oh, okay. I have a full list. My top 5. Okay, I'll tell you. in no particular order, my first one is 99% Invisible.
Yeah.
It's by far my most favorite podcast because it makes me think about design and the ways in which humans in cities work in a very unique way.
Yeah.
Every story is different. Every time I go into it, I'm like, I'm not gonna like this story, and then I like fall in love with it. I bought the book. I've tweeted the Roman Mars, the host. I've done a lot of things
Did he
with them.
reply?
Yeah, he actually retweeted me.
No
He didn't
way.
reply, but he retweeted me, and so did their producer, Truffleman. Avery Truffleman.
Bravery of a Nice.
That was one. The second one that I really loved was Serial, but only the season one.
Serial was really good.
Yeah, Serial season one was by far the best. It's been converted into now a movie as well that's in production. The podcast resulted in the retrial of the guy that they talked about, and that was the first like podcast or probably the only podcast that I've actually binged listened to.
Yeah.
So that's something that I really enjoyed. The third is called Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. It's a comedy trivia show
Okay.
about American trivia, but like current affairs.
Yeah.
And they bring on, it's basically done in a live theater in Chicago.
Yeah.
And they have a whole live audience, and there are 4 panelists and a judge and a host. And essentially they have like make-believe trivia contests with points and everything.
Yeah.
And in the middle they'll bring a special guest who will have like 3 questions to answer, and the name of the game that they would play with that person was called Not My Job. So it will be something completely off of what they ever do. So
And is it like when the question is asked, you as a listener is also thinking?
yeah, and you can actually get onto the show as well. And if you win the show, the game that you played, one of the voices from the panelists
Yeah.
can become your voicemail. Like that's their like prize.
Oh.
It's really cute. It's a really cute show.
You never talked about
I
it.
listen to it all the time, especially when I have nothing else to listen
I've
to.
never heard about it.
The fourth one that I really like is Office Ladies, because that's
Same.
just a really like nice way to get into a show. I also watched listened to some of the other versions of this. So I've listened to the Gilmore Girls one, which was whatever, and then I listened to the Scrubs one, and I really like the Scrubs one, but they don't do as much in-depth research because it's like 2 men sitting and doing it, so automatically lazier than women. The women just like work so hard into like giving
I
up
also
so much
I really
information.
enjoyed. I mean, I think Office Ladies makes my list as well because that's one that I
Yeah.
listened to. But I also really enjoyed Brian Baumgartner's podcast.
Yes,
The first
that
one.
that one was really off the
I can't
record.
remember off the record.
Off the record.
'Cause-
He's still doing it now.
Yeah.
He's converted it into just talking to celebrities, but
Okay.
not A-grade celebrities. He talks to B, like supporting cast
Solid,
members,
yeah.
and their stories are really nice.
Interesting. He has a really good like podcasting voice and personality.
And thought process, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
What was really, I mean, actually, people should really listen to Off the Record because the way it was done, it was so fascinating. He would basically speak to people and then have them like say a couple of sentences, and then he'd like add a line himself, and it would be like, I don't know, it was super smart.
yeah, it was
So,
very well done, very
Yeah.
scripted.
I started listening to, I don't think it's my like top 5 podcast, but I just can't think. I have like viral brain.
COVID brain.
Flu brain.
Blue brain.
So I started listening to Armchair Expert,
Yeah.
which is hosted by Dax Shepard, and I honestly wouldn't call that Monica Padman, Udman, whatever her name is, a co-host because she barely ever talks. Like I feel like the only time she's really talked a lot is with Daniel because now they're besties.
Yeah.
Archit telling me to be louder. I can't be louder.
Okay.
Let's get the mic closer to me. Let's get it. So like that's interesting, but I don't listen to every episode of that podcast. That podcast is also broken up into 3 different types of shows, where one is hosted by Dax and Monica, then one is hosted by this other guy who's like, I think he's from New Zealand or something,
Okay.
and he's come to America and he's trying to understand like things about
American
America.
culture.
It's really funny
Yeah?
actually. He did an entire episode on pickleball. And then the third one I've just never listened to. It looks a little boring and
Yeah.
not my vibe. And then even with Armchair Expert, like with Dax's show, I had picked like celebrities I'd want to listen about.
Yeah.
But it's basically just a talk show. He brings on somebody famous talks to them. I actually got onto it because Priyanka Chopra Jonas, Priyanka came onto the show, and actually her episode was really good. I thought she talked a lot of sense, and I've always liked her, so that's how I got into it, and now I listen to a bunch. And I was listening to the Matthew McConaughey episode because he did a return episode right now. So I was like, let me listen to the first one, and oh my god, all the teenage years of loving Matthew McConaughey are just gone because he's so annoying.
Yeah.
His voice makes me want to kill myself.
Yeah.
Very annoying.
Yeah.
And he just kept talking, but he had some really funny stories.
I mean, he's relived life.
Yeah. He was like sent off to Australia as an 18-year-old to go live with an Australian family, and after like a year or something, he was like, I want to go and live with somebody else now. And then he basically explains how that family reacted to him wanting to leave and stuff. It's damn funny. But I just couldn't listen to him too much. But some episodes have been really interesting, and like you get to learn so much about, not like I care so much about people's lives, but like it's fun regardless.
Yeah.
Then another podcast that I really liked, and I just can't remember the name. So can I have your phone for a second? It was about, one was that COVID podcast that I had mentioned, which was
Pick one.
Which was 3 of us.
Yeah.
Then there were 3. What was it called? No.
Then there were 3.
Then there were 3. Archit, why don't you explain what that's about, and I can give my throat a break.
Then there were 3 was a really interesting like New York Times article that turned into a podcast about the lives of 3 people in the middle of I would want to say like in the middle of somewhere in America, in the midst of COVID, yes. And the story was about the 3 members, the father and their 2 children and his 2 children, and how they navigated COVID. Father and son were both kind of like anti-vaxxers, and the daughter wasn't, and it was just a really interesting conversation about complex lives and how a pandemic really like challenged and strained ideologies. To us, if you don't know what has happened in America, or if you've just like not caught up, it like America is kind of a strange place because they have all the access in the world, but they decide to like not take fruition of it, just because of their own like weird superstitions. Again, it's not something isolated to America, but America is a great example for it because.
It was really. Of course, I've heard of anti-vaxxers, and honestly, like, how much have we seen it in our lives? Or we didn't come across anti-vaxxers as much until COVID, right? Like,
I didn't come across anti-vaxxers in COVID.
You didn't hear about them, is my point, right? You didn't hear about anti-vaxxers.
Because in India, that's
or
not a thing.
Anti-vaxxers up until COVID, really. I know it's not a thing, but then it really started coming up in the news and stuff. And so to listen to this podcast was just like culturally jarring for me, because I was like, why would somebody want to do this?
But that's what I was trying to get at, was like, it's actually a very common practice in America. They have anti-vaxxers for everything, because they think they'll get Alzheimer's by it, but there's no like scientific proof for that. It's pretty much like how Indian vegetarians think that eggs are non-veg. It's exactly that. It's not based in science, it's not based in myth, it's not based in anything other than the fact that egg looks strange.
We went 22 and a half episodes of this podcast without Archit mentioning the egg thing.
I'm enraged by that. Triggered. I'm really enraged by that.
The decibels of your voice have gone up.
Yeah, I'm just like, I can't get over it. I don't want to get over it. And because because if egg is non-veg, if egg is non-veg, then milk is non-veg, and paneer is non-veg.
I'll explain. I think like I think there's a confusion in India between vegetarianism and veganism.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Because what you're saying when you say if egg is non-veg, then so is milk and so is paneer.
Yeah.
That whole thing is veganism, actually. there's like a blurred line.
Yeah.
You're giving the wrong example for like so is milk. You're saying eggs are a byproduct, and then so is milk and paneer.
Yeah.
That becomes veganism.
Okay.
So there's a confusion between Indians understanding vegetarianism and veganism.
Not really, right? Because they're still consuming milk and
They
eggs.
don't understand.
Milk and
they don't
cheese.
understand. That's what I'm saying. They don't get it.
Yeah, but like it's just like an arbitrary line that's been built that, you know,
Yeah.
eggs are just like a non-veg product.
I see what you're saying, but I used to be a vegetarian who ate eggs, and I specifically said that.
Yeah, I mean,
You're not gonna
whatever.
change it. You're not gonna change it. Okay, give me back my mic. I have my 5th podcast.
You've done all your podcasts.
I did not. I did
like
4.
20 podcasts you've listed.
I
10
did
list.
4. 5th one, and it's like I love true crime. So there's this podcast called Have You Seen This Man? It's so fucking fascinating. Again, it's like I'm not gonna get into the details of like New York Times ne banaya or whatever. I don't remember. But it's basically there's 2 shows now. So like the first season was about this guy who like killed this girl when she was really young, and he escaped, and then he like changed his identity and blah blah blah. And then it's basically an investigative podcast where they're trying to find him. Similar to the whole serial thing where like they changed their whatever the case went into trial again. It's not like that, but they always have these like PSAs at the end, which is like, if you have heard of this man or if you've seen this man, please contact us and stuff like that. And then the second one was about a con man, John Rufo or something. And again, similar story, like he basically fucked off with a lot of money, and they actually made a movie about him. And when the movie was coming out, I saw the trailer and then I was like, ooh, podcast. But it was really good. I have more, but I don't know. These are not my top 5.
Fair.
But I have more suggestions. Hit me up.
But yeah, we have lots of suggestions.
At the rate Natasha, Ratti with 2 eyes.
We have lots of suggestions. We love podcasts at this point. We're listening to a lot of them. We take a lot of inspiration from some of them as well to kind of build content that we have. Especially like transitions, we're always playing around with it. We're also trying to like figure out how to do video because of the ways that these podcasts are kind of producing it as well.
But for viewers, I think wait till January 2024 to get like a better setup from us.
I feel like it'll be earlier.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, I mean...
Not if I'm sick.
I mean, if you're going on for like 8 months of sickness, then that's a whole other conversation. But
quick question.
Yes.
What's your worst... I'm so uncomfortable today. What's your least favorite part?
Can you do a quick question in that again?
Quick question.
Yeah.
What's your least favorite part about having a cold?
Least favorite part, loss of taste.
Really?
Yeah.
Ask me mine.
What is yours?
My throat hurts.
Yeah.
And today I was in the bathroom singing. I was listening to this song called Put It to Bed.
Yeah.
And obviously singing along. And this song has a lot of like highs and lows. And I could hit the low notes. But I was trying to sing the high notes. But nothing came out of my mouth. And I was like, no. But it's the throat ache that really kills me. Everything else, like congestion, whatever, heavy head every day.
Yeah. I hope you feel better, and I hope that you don't have to travel with
I
lots
really
of pain.
want to cancel my trip tomorrow.
It's okay. If you want to, you can. If you
I
don't
can't
want
leave
to,
Vaishnavi.
yeah. That's what I thought. Alright, so that's it. We were thinking of 15-minute episode. We've done 30 minutes of this content. Thank you so much for listening and tuning along, and we hope to see you again soon. Please wish Natasha best of luck.
Send prayers and chicken soup.
Prayers and chicken soup.
Not from Yeti, it was terrible.
By the time that you hear this, hopefully she'll be back
I'll be recovered.
and she'll be fit and fine as a fiddle. But if she isn't, then we'll keep you posted.
Put in the caption.
Yes, we will. Okay.
Natasha's
Why don't you
still-
rest your throat? Why don't you rest your throat? Okay. Rest your throat.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.